All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read-alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Teacher Lady Show. I'm Miss Erica, the Teacher Lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Thank you for joining me for Behind the Book, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. On this segment on the Teacher Lady Show, I really try to help you to utilize the book as a resource to have a more robust conversation with your littles. Now, all this week we are learning about cultural identity and pride. What does it mean for your child to not only accept their cultural identity, but truly celebrate it and love who they are? And of course, we're using picture books to be able to do so. If you have not done so yet, be sure to check out the Read Aloud first. This week we read Tricky Chopsticks by author Sylvia Chen and illustrator Fannie Liam. It is a fun, colorful story that reminds us that sometimes, even in our culture, there are challenges that we have to get past. It is a reminder of how powerful it is to be part of community, and she even explores her own cultural identity and ways to change up how she uses her chopsticks. Okay, so make sure to check out the Read Aloud first if you have not done so. But for now, let's go ahead and get into this behind the book review. Summary in my own words. Tricky Chopsticks is a book about Jenny, and Jenny is raised in her family using chopsticks as their main utensils, but she just can't get right. She's trying so hard to be able to use them. There is this point of shame because she can't use them. Everybody around her can use them, and it just really takes us on her journey from having this thing that is super important to her family's tradition and culture that she wants to participate in but is struggling to be able to do so. Take home message and who this book is for. I would have to say that the take home message is really rooted in two things. One, there is cultural identity, of course, given the week, the take home message of being part of something, the take home message of normalizing this part of her culture. That was all there. But there was also this really beautiful take home message of perseverance and kind of reinventing the wheel a little bit, because in the story, she struggled to use the chopsticks in this traditional sense. And so she kind of created and engineered all these other ways that would help her to be able to use them. And so I absolutely love that. And that was a huge take home message of sometimes you can have things that are part of your culture and you can adapt them a little bit so that they work for you as well. So you really do see that crossover in the book. In terms of age, I would have to say that this is age appropriate for children 5 to 9 years old. But I don't think if you went younger, it would be a problem, nor if you went older, it would be a problem. I just think that that is the age group that you could probably have the most robust conversation. Neurotypical children who are 5 to 9 years old, I always give the kind of disclaimer that if your child is neurodivergent, you might be looking at the pictures more, or you might want to slow down on reading. And so that age group does not apply to that group. But if your child is neurotypical, I would say 5 to 9 years old, they would be able to hone in on that take home message, okay? Who this book is for. The first is if your family uses chopsticks, okay? If that is part of your culture, if that is part of the way that y'all eat, get the book. It is definitely one of those fun additions to your library that you all can smile and laugh at and just kind of brighten your library. I always encourage you to get books that represent your family. So if you are related to that or if you connect to that, go ahead and get it. The second is for families that really do value cultural differences as well as identities. So if your family is big on things like heritage, culture, cultural differences, things of that nature, this is also a good addition to have, because this book and The Proudest Blue, which is our other read aloud this week, have this one specific element of their culture that is really zoned in on. So for The Proudest Blue, it was her hijab, and for this book, it was the chopsticks, and both are representations of their individual cultures. And so if your family appreciates that, definitely add the book to the library. And the last kind of group that I would encourage to get this book is educators. As educators, we really do have an obligation to normalize differences. That means making it a normal part of our classroom, and books are a beautiful way and resource to be able to do that, okay? Tricky Chopsticks really does hone in on Chinese culture. You have foods mentioned, you have words that I had to look up because I didn't know how to pronunciate them. There is a section in the back that the author talks about her growing up as well as her children and them using chopsticks, as well as even giving a tutorial on how you might use chopsticks if you are struggling or having a harder time with the traditional route. And so overall, just having this as a resource that is available to normalize different cultures is extremely valuable. Glows. There were a lot of glows for this book. The first is the book is unapologetically Chinese. When I tell you the pages have different Chinese words in them, different characters, the way in which they even write out the word mama, it's not pronounced mama, just the beauty of being like, this is a book about a Chinese girl and her Chinese family and her Chinese culture. That's always a glow for me. The beauty in being exactly who you are. So that stood out for me. The second glow for me is honestly the back of the book. In the back of the book, there is this tutorial almost to bring the reader in a little bit more to their own traditions and just ways that they might be able to utilize those chopsticks as well. And I thought that that was unique. Not many books have a tutorial on how to do much of anything, especially not in picture books. So having that additional activity is cool. Overall, I did appreciate that she was vulnerable in that sense. And then the last would have to be the pictures. The images are really, really beautiful because they so clearly depict and show Jenny and her family, okay? So I just love how embedded in culture this book is. The names of the food, like they didn't even try to make anything easier on the tongue. I love that. I really appreciate the story, and I feel like that it's this reminder that even if something is part of your culture, does not mean it's necessarily going to come easy. Grows, I really only have one. The one grow that I have is also a glow, and sometimes that happens just because my personality thinks of both sides of most things. So one of my glows was the fact that she shared this tutorial on how to use chopsticks. But one of my grows is being mindful of keeping your culture sacred. So I don't know what the rules are in terms of Chinese culture. I know chopsticks are a thing that are widely popular. I know my husband uses chopsticks. I know we go to restaurants. But I think just to be mindful, like if this is something that is okay culturally and historically. So just for clarity, in the back of the book, there is this tutorial. And it says how to make DIY chopsticks tongs using an origami Lucky Star. A tutorial of the following DIY is available on her website. Now, I am not Chinese. I cannot say for sure. I would just want to make sure that it is okay with the masses in terms of culture that we remix the chopsticks. There is a lot of remixing of culture that takes place in this country. There was a lot of, it was like this, but I'm going to do it like this because it's easier or more manageable. I had a friend get married, okay? And that friend had traditional Eritrean food. And that food was so spicy, okay? It was very well seasoned. It was so well seasoned that even though that was not my first time having Eritrean food, I could not understand how we got here because it was so different. Well, come to find out, a lot of Eritrean restaurants and other cultural restaurants will water down their food. They're going to season it less so that Americans, it's more palatable for them in their taste. So I guess my caution or my glow is that I don't really want to make things easier for other people. Like, this is chopsticks. This is how the chopsticks chopstick. And, get with it. Like that's the whole thing. And so I just think that there is beauty in tradition. Again, this is not my culture. I'm not telling her what she should or should not do or can or can't do. I am just putting that out there that oftentimes we try to bring people into our culture, and sometimes that means changing what is true to our culture to make other people feel more comfortable. And I don't want that to happen. Discussion points to have with your child. The first is I would bring the story home. So, what are our version of chopsticks? What are the things that make our culture unique? What are the things that make us different? Okay, because when you are talking about raising children who have a lot of pride and joy around their culture, you want to be sure to hone in on the things that make you you. Okay, so for Jenny, it is the chopsticks. She got the chopstick challenge. Her family uses chopsticks as part of their dinner. What are those things for us in our family? And using that as an example will help you to have a more robust conversation with your little one. Another way to utilize this book is to really explore some of the ways that she came to a solution. So throughout the book, Jenny has so many different things that she tries. She does not give up. That's the one thing she don't try, is being like, forget it, okay? She has so many different things that she tries in order to get it right. And so I would explore what those things are and really take this as an opportunity to talk about perseverance, because when you are proud of your cultural identity and when you are vocal about your cultural identity, there will be challenges because other people don't feel the same. Looking at the way that she persevered, even when her own family was like, girl, get it together, right? What were some of the things that she did to move past it can help to hold that conversation with your little one. And then the last discussion point or way that you can utilize this book as a resource is, why do you think the chopsticks were so important to Jenny? I think understanding that the chopsticks are not just this cool thing that her family does is super valuable. Like, chopsticks have been around for who knows how long. Do research on that, but really talk about the importance of being able to pass down tradition and that cultural norm for her and her family. And that if Jenny does not learn how to do it, she cannot teach it to her children or to her nieces or to her nephews or whatever that experience might be. But it also in a way kind of puts her on the outs, right? If everybody is able to utilize these chopsticks and she can't, where does that now place her? And so those are some of the ways that I would hold a conversation with my child around the book. You can definitely take this to like other people's cultural identity, your own cultural identity, the challenges that she had. There are a lot of different ways that you can take this story. If you just picked it up because your family is Chinese and you wanted a resource to be able to, discuss and connect on that, then just do that. Well, how do you feel about using chopsticks? And what are some of the foods that she talked about that we also love, right? Use it as this connective tissue. So again, so many different ways to be able to take this book. That is just a few. And of course, the link for the book, should you choose to add it to your library, is below. Tricky Chopsticks is a gentle, fun, heartwarming story about what it means to explore your culture. It goes over the challenges of learning something new, even when it is familiar within your cultural identity, and even explore some of the ways in which she had to persevere and move past that. Overall, it is a great book for families who are Chinese, families who are not Chinese, who want to raise children that normalize cultural differences, and families who are trying to raise children who are proud of their own cultural identity and who they are. Thank you so much for learning with me this week. If you have not already done so, be sure to go check out the Teacher Lady Reads episode where we have a beautiful read aloud on this story. Check out the other books that were featured this week. And then on Friday, come back for the Teacher Lady Speaks episode where I let you know how to be able to take my knowledge and kind of my resources and use them to raise a child that is proud of who they are. We want to raise babies who love their cultural identity, okay? If you did not know, I am also an author and illustrator. Be sure to check out those books as well as our Empathy Library program, which is a straightforward, pay it forward initiative that gets books to children in need intentionally. So check out that. Check out our other read alouds. Thank you for learning with me, for growing with me, and for being part of this book loving community. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.